welcome Hoosier fans to another victorious episode of Doing the Work, the first show on the Back Home Network covering IU women's basketball. I'm your host, Kathy Amos, and I'm here with my co-host, Jeff Marlowe. Tonight, we are discussing our Indiana women's win, 83-72 on the road over number 21 Illinois. This now takes the women's record to 17-1 overall and 7-1 in the conference. So huge congratulations and a great win from our number 6 Hoosiers. But let's start this show how we start every show, and that is with our banner moment. And I'm actually going to go, Jeff, to the end of the game when that banner or the horn sounded and the official, W was in the books. And I'm not going there because necessarily it's a great win, but it is when we'll talk about it. And we're going to spend the next, 40, 45 minutes talking through it. But the reason I'm picking this as our banner moment is it officially moves Coach Terry Mooring into the all-time winningest coach for the program in program history. So that's a huge accomplishment for any coach to be able to do that. And I'm just super proud that we've been able to come along for the ride, whether we're new or longtime followers of the program. And just a huge congratulations to Coach Mooring and really to showing how far this program has really come. This program has been ranked for about 69 weeks, I think, in a row now. And this is all because of Coach Mooring's leadership and the players coming along for the ride and being willing to be coached by her, and the fact that she is able to do this and bring out so many good plays out of so many players, I think is a great reason to provide that as our tonight's banner moment. Our banner moment tonight, as always, is sponsored by Home Field Apparel. Home Field is constantly releasing new schools or updating their product lines for schools and their existing products. In fact, they just came out yesterday with a whole new line of Indiana new shirts, T-shirts, and some sweatpants, including a new Indiana women's basketball shirt. So if you haven't gotten your shirts yet, and especially the ones supporting our women's program, hurry and get out there because I believe they're only available until this Friday. So go out to homefieldapparel.com. And if for some reason it's still your first time purchasing from Home Field, you can use HOME, HOME, our promo code to get 15% off of your order. Again, that website is homefieldapparel.com. Wear one for the team. All right, now it is time for Coach's Corner. So, Coach Marlowe, what do you have? What's your first quick take on the game tonight?
I got three things I really want to talk about, and I'll go in order for kind of the first thing. I want to piggyback off you. Congratulations to Coach Terry Mooring on becoming the all-time winningest coach in IU women's basketball history. Well deserved. She's really put the work in, and this program now has an identity, something that had been lacking before she had gotten there. There really was, even when they had some success, there really was no identity. This team, if you didn't get a chance, those of you who are on Twitter, go and watch or happen to have the Big Ten Network, and you can go back, maybe find some of the replay. Dave Revson interviewed her earlier today, and there were some really good clips on there that she talked about, and one of those was that defense is what they sell on. Defense is what their foundation is. And along with that, she also talked about Grace Berger among a couple other things as well. So go watch that. Also want to shout out to Yarden Garzon. She was named by the Coaches Association as the National Freshman Player of the Week for last week. So congratulations to Yarden. But then also, I really want to just get into the game now. I mean, an Illinois team that was playing well, had played well in Columbus, lost by 6. This was a team we struggled with, and because they made us struggle with them back in December in Bloomington. And then we took on the road tonight to a number 21 team. And after we got behind 19-10, that basically becomes a 30-point swing. We win by 11, or excuse me, 20-point swing. We win by 11. We're down 9. So it basically becomes a 20-point swing. And why? In my opinion, two things. Defense finally locked in after that first quarter. And secondly, and I know we're going to talk about individuals, but again, I think just the calming influence that Grace Berger brought, especially when they got behind. Grace made a couple of plays offensively. Now, she had some turnovers I'm sure she's going to be upset with herself about, but overall, I thought again, that presence, the difference in this game to me, getting away in the first half, like the game up in East Lansing did it a little bit, was Grace Berger being on the floor. And then she just brings a calmness and everybody else can feed off that.
Yeah, absolutely. I think we'll definitely talk about Grace throughout the show here tonight, as well as some other players. We had some great individual player performances turned in tonight, but I think in general, our team just had a great team performance. And that's really what we're coming to expect from our Indiana Hoosiers. So with that, Jeff, maybe it's time we'll jump over and we'll go right into as expected. So I just kind of talked about one thing that I think kind of went as expected was the team play from the team. But what about you? What is something that was pretty much expected and that you saw tonight?
Well, and again, I think it's expected. And I'm not trying to get into too much of the stats, but I am going to go right here to the first thing that jumps to my face is they shot 56% on the road. On the road into a pretty hostile environment. The State Farm Center has even when for the women now where Illinois is kind of a happening place. The Orange Crush is out, and they went on the road and shot 56%. And when you think about that, that's incredibly tough. And to me, it really speaks to the mental toughness, the mental fortitude that Coach Berger has, A, looked for the kids when she recruits, and B, that they build into the program overall. And again, we talked a little bit about this after the Wisconsin game. I didn't feel like anybody out there was not contributing. You don't look out there and say, oh, man, why are they out there? Why, what are they doing? Well, whether it's Lily Meister for a few minutes here and there, whether it's Lexi Bargesser for a few minutes here and there. And again, didn't maybe play as many people tonight, but also just didn't feel like I just feel like those kids are contributing, and that's what we need. Kathy, what do you think when it's expected?
Yeah, I think you've already touched on it. The calming factor of Grace Berger was just amazing. I think, she ended up with 37 minutes. I don't know if you saw this. I felt like she might have tweaked her knee there for a second. She came up kind of limping, and I got really nervous and really watched her, but she ended up playing 37 minutes. And in that 37 minutes, and with all the whistles that were being blown in this game, it was pretty aggressive. She had only 2 fouls as well. I thought, she just turned into a fantastic performance. And, I think we've definitely been missing that from her. Other thing that I thought went as expected, and it kind of goes to the first thing I talked about, which was team play, but really just responsiveness to the coach and some adjustments she made. So Coach Morin called a timeout in that first quarter. Illinois had gone on a run there. I think they were up by 9 points at that point in the game. 10-19, they took the lead. Illinois had a 7-0 run in like 2 minutes, and Coach Morin called that timeout. And after that, we really, came out. Our defense started to buckle down, especially going into the second quarter. But I thought after that timeout, you started seeing it a little bit. We seemed calmer on offense, and just the responsiveness to the coaching. And I think you saw that going into the third quarter as well, right? Like that third quarter, I thought was just absolutely fantastic for us. We ended up scoring 30 points in that third quarter and outscoring Illinois by 10, and really expanded our lead up to 67-51 at that point. And again, I thought that was coming out of that halftime and responding to the coach. So I think it's an as expected on 2 fronts. 1, really great coaching from the coaching staff, and 2, responsiveness from the team to whatever coaching that they're getting.
Well, and I want to kind of go along with that, but also I thought, and I put it in here as expected, we've come to expect Terry Morin and her staff to make subtle adjustments or even sometimes big adjustments. And I thought they did a nice job tonight. Max struggled at a few points in the game, especially early. She missed some point blank shots, and then she had a couple in that fourth quarter that kind of allowed Illinois to get back into the game there a little bit, where we could have maybe extended it out. But I thought what I saw was there were a couple different times they put different players down the post. They put Grace down the post and tried to let her post up and either get a shot for herself or create. And then, of course, you have the big play, in my opinion, what was really the big play with Chloe Moore McNeil getting a post up and a bucket and drawing the 5th foul on Bryant and then hitting the free throw for the 3-point play. I just like that when you can take – it doesn't always have to be Mac. It doesn't always have to be your post player. Find a matchup that you like down there, and I thought that was a great adjustment.
Yeah, I think that's a good point to talk about with Chloe as well, that with that sequence of events, that whole the 2 points with the 3-point conversion that put her into double digits. She was our fourth double digit scorer. And, it was kind of a quiet 12 points, right? And, Chloe just did, again, her Chloe things, right? She was 3 for 5 shooting, very solid. She didn't really have any fouls, and she ended up with 6 assists again. So again, I think this is kind of the play now we're starting to expect from Chloe Moore McNeil. What other expectations were met for you tonight, Jeff?
I'll talk about turnovers. When we went to East Lansing, it was a turnover fest. And tonight Illinois is not a team that turns you over a ton, but we only had 10 turnovers. So even when we weren't playing well, it wasn't because we were turning it over per se. We just weren't making. There was a couple stretches there where we didn't make very many shots, and that's when Illinois made their runs.
Yeah, Illinois forces on average this year, they've forced around 15 turnovers. So definitely kept our turnovers under their average. I didn't have much else to talk about in expectations. Do you want to transition over to surprises?
Sure.
All right. You got one first you want to go out with?
To me, and she ended up with some decent numbers, but I really felt like for the biggest chunk of the game, we held Kendall Bostic really in check. She got in foul trouble, which helped us, but that was a kid that really worried me. Indiana kid who I'm sure was thinking, here's a chance for me to look good in front of the home state school and with a team that is playing with a lot of confidence in Illinois. And so I was really worried about her possibly having a big game tonight, even though she only came in averaging 10 and 10. But through about 2.5, 2 3/4 quarters, she was at like 2 points and 4 rebounds. Now she ended up playing well down the stretch and got Mack in a little foul trouble. But the ability to I thought keeping Kendall Bostic under control for the biggest chunk of the game was a big key for me tonight. That was a pleasant surprise. What about you?
Yeah, that was really great. So I think with that, I was a little surprised at how our defense kind of seemed surprised by Illinois, going with the theme of surprises. So especially that first half, I think in the first quarter, it just seemed like Illinois was kind of getting what they wanted around the rim. They were really driving on us, and we seemed to be really having trouble stopping the ball penetration for them to get that ball inside. Again, we made some great adjustments. I was just surprised at it, being that we have played Illinois before, and this is kind of how they beat us the first time, right? With Makira Cook going on, would she go off for like something 30 or something the first game? But on the plus side of that, yes, it surprised me that it was a little maybe porous at the beginning, but they made the right corrections. And Cook in particular only ended up with 14, which also surprised me. I mean, she's averaging, she's the team lead for them, averaging over 18 points per game, and we held her to 14. So clearly our defense turned it around after that kind of a bit of a slow start defensively, at least for us.
Well, and with that, it's just another example. The one thing that continually gives us some issues are athletic guards, and Cook and Bryant especially fit that mold. Now, like you said, we finally got them under control after the first quarter. Cook goes 5 for 18 and 0 for 5 from beyond the arc. So you're going to take that every night from her. I mean, she took 18 shots to get 14 points. The other kind of surprise here for me was Mackenzie. And I'm not trying. I don't want to talk too much about Mags. I'm sure we're going to talk about her a little bit later. But she had 6 steals. I mean, she had very active hands. She wasn't super aggressive defensively, like she was out overplaying or anything, but she just seemed to be tonight. She was in the right place, right time, was able to get her hands on some passes, create a couple tie-ups, but 6 steals to lead the way for us tonight.
Yeah. One surprise I had, and it's nothing with the officiating. We all know and love our officials all over the Big Ten and men's, women's, college basketball, wherever. I was surprised at how many fouls were called in this game because, yes, I thought it was a very aggressive game and very physical, but I didn't think it was any more physical than some of the other games we've seen earlier in this year. And we've ended up with 2 players with 4 fouls, and they had 2 players with 4 fouls and Genesis Bryant falling out. So, I was just a little surprised that now all of a sudden we see officials starting to feel like they were tightening up the game. But so again, not trying to say anything about the officials one way or another. It just, again, surprised me because it's not what we've typically see from Big Ten women basketball, where they really are calling fouls, are hardly calling fouls. And tonight it was left and right.
But when you look at it, though, when you think about it from our perspective, going on the road, and we ended up with 17 fouls. And now Illinois fouled a couple times there at the end, but they had 18. So I'll walk, and you're telling me I'm walking out there with less fouls than Illinois on the road in the Big Ten. I'll be like, take that any day. I thought we had, Ari was with us in our chat and our text group, and I think Ari maybe joined us here in the Workaholics here, and great number of people in the Workaholics tonight. Welcome to all of you that are here consistently, and some of our new people as well. Hope you come back and join us again in the future. But what was I going to say? Oh, the fouls. I didn't think the fouls were totally out of whack. There are a couple of them maybe that you might have questioned about the legitimacy of the call. I thought the first foul that Grace Berger got was a flop on the offensive foul. I thought one of the fouls they called on Kendall Bostic for a moving screen was pretty weak. But overall, I didn't have too much to complain about the fouls from that standpoint. And
I'm just surprised they actually called them.
Yeah, well, yeah, that But I was getting ready to say about Ari. I lost my train of thought when I started seeing the people in the Workaholics. What I was going to say about Ari was that Ari texted us, because we weren't at the game, but Ari texted us at one point there in the first quarter, I believe. Mm-hmm. Coach Morin yelled at him, "That's Horizon League level of officiating."
Yes.
And she seemed to get a couple calls after that. So I thought that was an interesting way to try and get the officials' attention. So, but that I really don't have any other surprises. Kathy, what about you?
No, I don't either. So why don't we go ahead then? And we started touching a little bit on stats, but we haven't talked a whole lot. So why don't you give us your first maybe team stats that is really something that jumped out to you?
Basically, even on the glass, 30, they out-rebounded us by 1. But coming in, Illinois was out-rebounding their opposition overall for the season, non-conference and conference combined. They were out-rebounding just under 11 a game. So we're only -1 on the glass. To me, that's a huge stat.
Yeah, that was one we were definitely talking about Sunday when we did our show there and kind of highlighted this game was the rebounding. The other thing we wanted to watch for was the turnovers, which you've already touched on, that we ended up with only 10, which was fantastic. And really, if you look at the team stats side by side between us and Illinois, they're fairly even in every category except for the field goal percentage. So again, we're averaging right around 50% shooting on a team as a team this year. And you already touched on this, but I just want to reiterate, because it's, I think, very important to say we shot 56% on the road tonight. So not only did we shoot it really well, we shot it better than average, and we did it on the road. And I think that was a huge part of why we won this game tonight.
Now I'm going to go to one other stat. I'm going to show the old Bob Knight in me. We were 18 of 24 at the free throw line. As the team, not maybe the best percentage, 75%, but the old Knight philosophy: make more free throws than the opponent shoots. And they only shot 15. We made 18. So to me, so like you said, you look side by side. We barely, for all the stuff that Mac did and the post ups we talked about, we only won the points in the paint by 6. The real difference ended up being basically better shooting percentage and getting to the line more.
Yeah. One interesting number for both teams tonight, Jeff, was that both teams combined had 2 points off their bench. Our 2 was from Lily Meister, was the only 2 from the bench for either team.
Right.
And I guess that's kind of surprising to me. I thought, we might see a little bit more from either team, to be honest. Illinois is still, rebuilding after last year, and their whole team is basically new from last year. But I thought there would be more scoring from the bench really on both sides. So I was a little surprised at that. But what are your thoughts on the bench play, specifically for us in general?
Well, the 2 points we got from Lily was, again, I talked about, it didn't hurt us. She's making productive plays.
They were good.
But we really only played 6 players. I mean, Sarah Scalia got 16 minutes, which was a little low for her in this game. But Illinois really only played 6 tonight. So you could tell that both coaches thought this was an important game and was going to be a tough game, because I think they went into the mindset almost treating it like a tournament type game, where you got to keep winning here, because we're going to talk a little bit later in the show. It doesn't get any easier for the Hoosiers after tonight. But so I'm sure Terry Morin thought, hey, we got a gauntlet starting to come up here. We got to win tonight. And they played like it, and they're going to get some time off. They don't play again until Monday and stuff. But I thought that's an important point you brought up about the bench on both teams, that neither one really was, as far as scoring, was productive.
Yeah, absolutely. So maybe Jeff, you mentioned Sarah. Maybe talk a little bit about her and what your thoughts are on with her. She ended up tonight with no points. She only took 2 field goals for us, both of them 3-pointers that she missed. She did have 4 rebounds and 3 assists, but she ended up only playing 16 minutes, which is, I don't know for sure. I'm going off of my gut feel here. I feel like 16 minutes is probably the low for her this year in terms of how many minutes she's played. But any thoughts on Sarah's play tonight?
Yeah, it just was, she right now you just see a lack of confidence, but I thought at least tonight she didn't force shot. The 2 shots she shot, I didn't feel were forced. She had she was contributing, like you said. She added 4 rebounds. She had 3 assists. So I think it also just got into those where we've seen this with Coach Moore before. Once she kind of identifies the group she thinks is going to be able to go that night, she's going to ride them. And you really, toward the end of the game, about the last and through the fourth quarter or so, you really only saw Lily Meister. She came in for a minute or so. McKenzie got a rest. Few minutes later, she came in for another minute or two. But other than that, I don't really remember a whole lot of subs in the fourth quarter. So if Sarah gets kind of her normal rotation in the fourth quarter, she's probably up around 21 or 22 minutes.
Yeah, I agree. So let's continue on moving and talking about some of the other individuals. So another player we haven't talked a whole lot about was Sydney Parrish. So Sydney ended up tonight 8 points on 3 of 7 shooting, 2 of 5 from 3-point land. So she made 2 of our 5 3-pointers that we had as a team. She ended up with 4 fouls, 4 rebounds, and 1 assist. I didn't think necessarily this was a bad game. I wouldn't say that from Sydney. It wasn't as productive a game as what we have come to see of her. I mean, she was second in the team in scoring. I think she was averaging around 12 or 13 points. So she was definitely below what we've come to expect from her. But, she didn't force anything. And I think sometimes that's just as important as being that ever always productive player. Right? Because if you start forcing things, that's when turnovers are going to happen or bad shots and things of that nature. I didn't feel like we got any of that from Sydney, even though she wasn't having this, performance that maybe everyone is thinking is going to happen game in, game out. So I'm not upset at all with Sydney's play, even though she was only in single digits scoring. But what are your thoughts on Sydney?
I thought Sydney at times looked like she was just floating in terms of just she was moving, but she was just kind of with kind of out there, and that was really kind of when I really felt like that was kind of early in the game when Illinois was playing well and we were kind of struggling a little bit. But I thought overall from the second quarter on, Sydney didn't force anything, and I think she felt like they understood. She, to a certain degree, either the adjustment they made or the game plan coming in took hold in the second quarter, because that's when we really started to pound it inside, especially to Mac. We got some turnovers. We were able to get some run outs and get some things in a little bit where we got Illinois cross transitioned in defense. So, but I thought Sydney played well from the second quarter on, just really kind of accepting the fact we didn't need her to knock down a bunch of threes tonight. We just needed to make sure we took care of the ball well enough to get Max set up in the post.
Yeah, absolutely agree. That not Sydney's best game, but it wasn't a bad game, right? Quang said that in the chat, and I think that's perfectly said, Quang. So I'm going to quote you on that.
And I'm going to go here and see what you thought. Yarden Garzon, I thought for the most part, kind of the same way. Didn't really assert herself, but she hit 2 huge threes in the third quarter that really stretched out the lead, and she ended up with 13 points, 3 of 6 beyond the arc, 4 of 9 overall, 3 rebounds, an assist and a block. But, I just didn't feel like Yarden, was like, again, they were all being productive, but it was just like there were times I felt like Yarden was focusing on just making sure they ran the game plan. And that was going to be take what they gave you or dump it inside to Mac or whoever we were trying to post up on that possession.
Yeah, I felt the exact same way about Yarden. I don't have actually much else to say about her. Any other individual or team stats that you would like to comment on?
No, I don't have anything else on the stats.
No, me neither. Cool. All right. We will. Awesome. All right, Jeff. Well, thanks for that music from Bob Thompson there. Appreciate that. And with that, we are going to move into our game ball. awards. So I think Jeff will be putting up a ticker on the bottom of the screen if you're watching on YouTube now or in the replay. But if you're not, you're only listening. Our game balls right now, we have 10s for Mackenzie Holmes, 3 each for Sydney Parrish and Yard Garzon, and Grace has gotten 1 as well. So Jeff, for tonight in the Illinois game, who would you like to vote for your game ball?
I'll tell you, about midway through the third quarter, I was leaning one way.
Yep.
And then I changed, and I'm gonna go with Mackenzie Holmes here. It's hard to go against the kid who scores 30. She had 10 rebounds, so another double officially. She had 2 assists, 2 blocks, and 6 steals in 35 minutes of action. So I came around because I was kind of back and forth. I had one other rest thing, and I'm going with her because it's really been her night. But it's hard to go against the kid who goes for 30 and 12.
Yeah, we probably are going to have some of the same comments here then in these next couple of segments, but 100% agree. It's really hard to not say Mackenzie was our dominant force out there, right? 30 points for her. We ended up, again, 46 points in the paint. And you could just tell the team was really uber focused on getting her that ball. And, it was especially in that stretch where Illinois was making that run in the fourth quarter. And she had some really timely plays for us that I thought were really good. She had, again, we were going back to her and she ended up to score. I think she had a block in that stretch as well. I just thought Mackenzie played pretty well. The only, if you're going to look for something to pick on, is the 4 fouls. But again, I thought the refs were calling a lot of fouls tonight. So she was definitely, had some good company in that category. And, she had 2 assists as well, which was really great. So, she's sharing the ball and she's scoring as well. So just overall, it was just a really nice game for Mackenzie and showing why, she's got to be in the conversation at this point, hopefully for Big Ten Player of the Year, if not more. So really hats off to Mackenzie.
And the thing that I guess I'll nitpick on, she was 12 for 20. And it wasn't like she was shooting jump shots. So if she hits 3 or 4 more shots, she's going to end up around 35, 36 points. And she would have really looked efficient. I mean, so I guess the only thing I'm going to nitpick on her is I felt like she left a few points there because she wasn't finishing early. And she had that stretch there right at the beginning of the fourth quarter where she missed a couple 3 right at the rim. So take those, 5, 6 shots out of there, say they're makes. Heck, she would have shot about 17 for 20, maybe end up with 40. So, but again, that's nitpicking. You're when you're getting to that point, it's a fun problem to have.
Yes.
When you're trying to nitpick on your player of the game, your game ball for who had 30 and 12.
Yeah, and again, we've talked about it before. If you've ever met me in person, I'm not the tallest person. When I played a little bit of basketball in high school, I definitely was not a down low perimeter player or down low player on the block. I love watching her footwork. Like, I just think her footwork has improved so much, even just from the beginning of this year to now. I just really enjoy watching her play. So cool. Well, let's move on then to our Hoosier Hustle Award. So our Hoosier Hustle Award, we have had a lot of people get the Hoosier Hustle Award. So I'll quickly run through it. Chloe has gotten it 4.5 times, Sydney 3.5. Lexus Bargesser, Grace, and Lily Meister all have 2. Alyssa Garzon and Caitlin Peterson each have 1. So Jeff, what do you have on your little sheet there for Hustle Award?
Well, this is where I'm going to kind of go to the person, and sometimes the Hustle Award may not always be quite what it says on Hustle, because I think they're all hustling. So it's not like there's one person like, oh my God, their hustle really stood out because they're all hustling. But this was the person I was going with about 2.5 quarters, 2 3/4 of the game, and that's Grace Berger. Berger with 18 points tonight, very efficient, 7 of 10. From the field. She had 6 rebounds. She had 3 assists. She had 2 steals. Her biggest thing we're going to pick on her, she had 6 turnovers. So, but I thought Grace, that's who I had in kind of that running for the game ball when they was still at the point where her and Mac were pretty close in scoring and rebounds. And then Mac really took off in the late third quarter, fourth quarter. But I thought this tonight was really the first game where that we saw what Grace Berger brings to this team since the injury. And what we felt like we were missing when she was out with the injury. And that was the kid who could take over. I think Joel pointed this out earlier in the Workaholics here in the chat, that once they took that timeout that you referenced earlier, that Coach Moore took when they were down 19-10, they put the ball in Grace's hands. She made a play. She started getting the ball to people. And you just see that. I mean, it's like you can see her. It's like, give me the ball. The game slows down for her. And she just is able to see. And a couple of the turnovers I thought they gave to her may not. I'm not sure I would have if I'd been statting it. But that's who they gave them to in the official stat sheet. So,
yeah.
But overall, I thought Grace Berger for the Hustle Award for me.
Yeah, absolutely. I'll make it unanimous. So it's pretty easy. And I see here in our Workaholics chat, we have a lot of people already as well voting for Grace. So I think that she was really, and I think I tweeted this out when we really went on and we that, run where it seemed like we just needed something to kind of push us over the hump. I thought it was Grace that was initiating it. And those are the type of things that don't really show up in the stat score, right? Like, I thought, again, sometimes you watch it and you get this, as Jared likes to say on assembly call, you get this visceral feel. I viscerally felt that Grace had a ton of assists and she ended up with only 3 in the stat book. So maybe she had a lot more hockey assists or something because I felt she was really facilitating. And yes, definitely. We see it here from Joel and Richie talking about how the game is just very slow for her. And you could see that, right? She doesn't rush into it. She takes what the defense gives her. You can see a lot of that hesitation moves, and that just comes from all that experience. And, and it shows why Coach Morin has said that she's one of the best players she's ever coached. I just, she is great to play or to watch play. So I make it unanimous for Grace.
And you want that. I mean, you like for your best player, and I know you could have a debate about who's the best player on this team because you look at the stats and stuff that Mackenzie Holmes is putting up. But at least in this case, your primary ball handler, that's to me, that's ideal. Not every ball handler has it. They don't have that ability to really slow the game down. The ones who do are the ones who really have the potential, and I think Grace Berger meets this, to be great players because they see the game. You hear great players talk about this. The game just kind of looks like it's in slow motion for them. Everybody else, be playing like you talk to average players, they're like the game's going, fast. Yeah. And for especially say young freshmen at the college level or a kid that's getting to the varsity level for the first time in high school, that game's going 100 miles an hour, and it's hard for them to slow it down at the beginning. You see Grace Berger, and that's why I was surprised a little bit about some of the turnovers tonight. Because that's not normal for Grace. Now, she's going to pick up a couple turnovers, maybe just because she is the primary ball handler. There's going to be a pass that goes a little bit awry. You thought somebody was cutting one way, they did, and those things happen. But so, like I said earlier, I thought they gave her a couple turnovers that really weren't hers. But again, that being able to play the game in your head at a much slower pace, where the game really just kind of slows down and allows you to be able to be like, oh, right here. And I thought that tonight showed up on the court for Grace. We saw that on the court with Grace Berger.
I agree 100%. Grace was just nice to watch. In fact, I was at one point before Mackenzie just went on that tear in the third quarter, I actually had Grace written down for my game ball as well. So. Yes. So, funny, just to touch on her a little bit, I think what you're talking about is the game being slower for some of our more senior players. We saw with Lexi, I thought Vargas tonight, it felt like the game was a little fast for her tonight. Yes. So, that's not surprising. Again, she's a freshman. She ended up only playing 4 minutes. In that 4 minutes, she had a foul. So, it wasn't the best thing we've seen from Lexi, but, she got a lot of run early on in the season. I still think that's going to pay off. And I feel like she's going to have games where it's going to settle in for her this year yet. And we'll get more than 4 minutes out of her.
Yes, I totally agree.
Yep. All right, cool. Anything else you want to touch on this game specifically?
No, I'm good.
All right. Let's move on then to lingering questions. So, Jeff, what kind of lingering question do you have on your brain?
I really don't have a lot coming out of tonight. Just the lingering question is, can we take this on the road a second time and go up to Michigan, go to Ann Arbor on Monday and get a win? Or because right now, and we're going to talk a little bit about Michigan here in a little bit, but Michigan becomes really a huge game because you then get the matchup with Ohio State a week from tomorrow in Bloomington, and more than likely Ohio State's coming in there undefeated. So any chance you really have to be at the top of the race and really come into February, you got to win at Michigan, and you got to beat Ohio State at home, because right now Ohio State just doesn't look like they're going to lose very many in the league.
Yeah, I agree. So
can they travel? Can they travel again like they did today?
Yep. It's nice that they're going to have a fairly long layover, longish, going into this game. So I don't have any lingering questions either. So let's just go ahead and preview then our next opponent. So as Jeff mentioned, our next opponent is Michigan. They are currently ranked number 17. That game will be on Monday, January 23rd, played in Ann Arbor. Tip time is 8 Eastern or 7 Central. And for all of those wondering, it is on regular Big Ten Network this time. So I saw a lot of people on Twitter complaining about how you have a top 25 matchup not on television and only on Big Ten Plus. Well, this one will not be on Big Ten Plus. So I'll go over quick some of the histories, and I'll turn over to you, Jeff, to kind of go through some more of the stats specific to Michigan. So in terms of history, IU actually leads the series 46-29, and they are tied on the road 21-21 in Ann Arbor. In terms of last matchup, more recency, IU lost their last matchup 50-65 in Ann Arbor, and that was in January of last year.
And that wasn't that close.
No.
That was an ugly game where we did not play very well, and Michigan really romped that game. So that score was really not indicative as bad as it was.
Yeah. It was even worse than the score. I remember that too. They just weren't in it from the beginning. Nope. So hopefully we'll have a much better experience. So in terms of a team, Michigan is 15-3 overall, 5-2 in the conference. Their most recent game was last Saturday when they beat Michigan State in Ann Arbor 70-55. And then tomorrow they will play Rutgers. So Michigan has a game at Rutgers in between now and when we play them. But Jeff, what else do you want to talk about with Michigan?
Well, first of all, this is a little bit of a surprise team. They lost one of the best players in the Big Ten, an All-American, and Naz Hillman to graduation. Excuse me. And so a lot of people thought Michigan was going to fall back to the middle of the pack. In fact, I think when we did our preview, we all kind of thought Michigan may be a fifth-place team.
Yeah.
And right now, they're I think they're a game behind IU, a game and a half now because of us winning tonight. But assuming they'll win at Rutgers tomorrow night. Rutgers at the bottom of the league, and so assume they'll be a game behind us. So again, a game where we're playing a top flight team on the road, and I imagine will be another and maybe even more hostile environment than they saw in Champaign tonight. So they're averaging 76.7 points per game. They're only giving up 60.6. So they're outscoring their opponents by about 16 points a game. They out-rebound their opponents by a 7.2 margin. And that's always a big thing for me in the women's game because a lot of times where that margin shows up is on the offensive glass and second chance points. Like you'll even notice, like tonight, Illinois won the second chance points against us. And that was one of those that we didn't really talk about. They're shooting 48% from the field overall, 35% from three. Their opponents are being held to 39.5% field goal and 31.4% from beyond the arc. They're forcing almost 20 turnovers a game, but they're committing 17 turnovers a game. So not a huge discrepancy there. And I haven't seen Michigan a ton this year. And Kathy, maybe you've seen them a little bit more than I have. But they, at least in the past, they weren't really a pressure, get up in your face, make you go 84 feet team. But they're going to be very active in the half court, and that's what I would expect tonight or on Monday night anyway. They have three players averaging double figures, led by Emily Kaiser with 17.2 points per game, eighth in the Big 10. She also leads the team with 7 rebounds. And then Layla Falia and Leah Brown are also averaging right at 16. So those three combined are averaging about 49 points a game for them.
Yeah, absolutely. In terms of coaching, Kim Barnes is their head coach. She's in her 11th season. She's led that program to 9 21 seasons and 5 NCAA tournaments in her 11 years. So, and she has a winning percentage of 66.7. So, definitely not anything to take lightly again. I mean, they are ranked 17, so they've had some really nice wins as well. So, Jeff, I haven't had a chance to watch them, and I will unfortunately be missing this game. Well, I don't know how unfortunate it is. I'll be in Hawaii, so I'm sure no one feels sorry for me. So unless, we're someplace where I can catch the game on my phone, I will be missing it. So
you're going to be on the beach trying to watch the game. Come on.
Yeah. It's been known to happen. I'm not going to lie about it. When the women played last year, they played Kentucky. We were down in Mexico, and I made the sports bar at the resort we were at put the game on. So I have done it. So So you never know. But Jeff is planning on having a post-game show right now, immediately following the game. So don't feel bad for me at all. I know no one does. Jeff will still be around to cover the game for you, but I don't have anything really to add on Michigan.
Okay.
So we'll just go ahead then and talk about programming notes. I kind of started already. So just a reminder, on the men's side, Assembly Call will be having their normal post-game show tomorrow after the men play also in Champaign against Illinois. So keep an eye out for that as well. And if you don't already, be sure to catch or subscribe to Crimson Cast. They are also part of our Back Home Network. And you've seen Amanda Foster on here with myself and Jeff from time to time. She does a women's podcast over on Crimson Cast, as well as the men's side with Scott and Galen. And then again, Jeff is planning to have a post-game show.
We'll be on one way or the other. We'll be on Monday night after the game.
Even if Jeff has to talk all by himself with the workaholics, he will be here to discuss that hopeful yet another victorious road win with Indiana going up to Michigan. All right. Well, I think with that, Jeff, it is last call. So what would you like to leave everybody with tonight?
Kudos to the team. Kudos to Coach Moore for becoming the all-time winners coach at IU for women's basketball. But just kudos to this team to go on the road against the like I said earlier, the surprise team in the Big Ten, into a hostile environment and get out of there with an 11-point win. And now though you got to forget about that. It's nice to get that win and get that. It'll help in the net because Illinois is going to obviously that's a very good quad one win. But now you got to go on the road. And as far as the league's concerned, nobody cares now that you won at Illinois. It's only about what you're going to do up at Michigan. As we said earlier, Ohio State right now, undefeated in the league, undefeated overall, but they're undefeated in the league. And everybody else has at least one loss. Iowa and us both have one loss. Iowa got out of Michigan State in overtime tonight, kind of, barely. But again, good teams find a way to win tough games. And so we've got to find a way to go up there. And I think it's going to be all about the defense. I really do. You got to find a way. You cannot let Kaiser and Filia and Brown go off for, if you can hold them to their average of about 49 or below that, you're going to give yourself a chance to win. If those three somehow go off for 55, 60, 65 points among the three of them, it's probably going to be a long night. So I think defense is what I'm going to be really watching early in that game. Are we locked in? Can we contain the ball? And then can we rebound on the defensive line?
Yeah, I would think that's the same thing I have for my keys to the game. And I'm going to throw in turnovers too, even though, in terms of margin, the turnover margin isn't big for Michigan. They still do force a number of turnovers. And so, we've seen the team kind of get bit by that turnover bug from time to time. So I just want to make sure we're more like tonight. We're really paying attention. I felt like we were very focused on keeping the ball. So those are kind of my three keys that I had as well. So just in terms of my last call, I just want to say again, congratulations to the team again. Thanks to everyone here joining us live. It's one of our bigger numbers. So I think that shows how big of a game this was for the program, right? It was a big game for the program in the micro sense in terms of the season. It keeps us tied up there in second place in the Big Ten. We've got another great road win, great confidence building, but in the macro sense too, because of Coach Moore and breaking that overall win record. So congratulations to everyone. And for those of you who are maybe not watching live but would like to see us do the live show and be part of that live chat that we have going on, make sure you subscribe to our YouTube channel. You can find that at youtube.com/assemblycall. You can also go to assemblycall.com and join our private community there where we have great discussions on all things Indiana related. So including Indiana women's basketball. A huge thanks to John Ringer of Riggs Design for designing our new logo that we got this year. And thank you to Bob Thompson for our new music that you have heard throughout the broadcast. And most of all, thank you to everyone, again, listening live right now with us tonight in YouTube. And for those who don't listen live and follow us later, we appreciate every single one of you. We wouldn't be here without you. So thank you for listening. We will be back to talk IU hoops again with you soon. But until then, keep your elbow in, your eyes on the rim, and let's go Hoosiers.
All right.
Awesome. All right. Well, thanks everyone. That was quite the rambunctious chat going on tonight. So you gotta love that.
Yeah.
A lot of stuff going on in there. So appreciate everyone being here with us tonight.
Yeah, thanks everybody for being here, and appreciate all of you who are here tonight. And tell friends. If you enjoyed the show and watching it live, tell your friends and have them join us Monday night after the Michigan game, hopefully for a win.
Right. Yeah, that would be awesome. So, all right. Well, thanks everyone. I think we're all going to get out of here. It's a late night for me and Jeff. It's past our bedtime. So lots of appreciation to everyone again. So good night and take care.
Night, everybody.